Hello, internet friends. Welcome back to my unfiltered channel. The background's getting a little more barren because I'm moving in a few days. A new chapter of my life is starting. I'm excited to share what I learned from that and everything that's going down within the next few months. But let's talk about today's topic, which is being an introvert and how that sometimes gets in the way of you socializing or even just exuding the smallest of niceties to people. So last video I posted on my main channel, this is about the Trust Epidemic. If you haven't seen that, you should go check it out on Cole Hastings, spelled C-O-L-E, which is the way you actually spell my name. I talked about the general mood of a lot of Gen Zers, which is I don't owe anyone anything, and not participating in any sort of small talk or gestures just to be nice to someone, even if in a sense it is a little inauthentic to laugh at somebody's joke in which you don't actually think is funny, or be nice to your coworkers, although you should find a way to actually be nice to them, and I'm going to explain that more. Anything like that where you're or walking by somebody, kind of just giving them a smile, how are you? These shouldn't really feel fake, number one. And number two, they might feel fake to you, faker to you, if you consider yourself or have diagnosed yourself with introversion. I would definitely consider myself to be an introvert. I need a lot of time to recharge after social situations in which there's a ton of people. I don't go to parties that often when I'm in social scenarios. I'm not the life of the party. I'm not the guy talking all the time, which might be surprising to a lot of you guys because you think I shouldn't be an introvert, or I don't know what introversion is like, even though I'm just talking to a camera right now and you don't know me in real life. Yeah, I'm a big introvert. I am quite a quiet person, and that is how most people describe me after meeting me in real life. Now, I had planned on making a video related to this topic of introversion and how, I think it's okay for you to not have to always speak up and to be the quiet one. And the fact that it's okay if you feel drained after talking to a lot of people. I think that's natural for introverts. But I think I was going to continue along those lines, and that video probably would have been presented in a way in which I would have gotten to the point where I said, the average person just drains me because I can't even relate to them at all. And while that is true, while I do feel that way a lot of the times, and people are talking about random, very surface level stuff that I am not interested in. I don't watch a lot of sports except for the Bills. I don't have a similar job to most people because YouTube is my job. It's hard for me to relate on a similar level to most people my age. And I was going to make that kind of the main premise of the video. Like, it's okay to not have to relate to anyone. And I think, yeah, of course, you don't have to be friends with everybody. You don't have to have a super strong connection with everyone. And especially if you're on like a self-improvement journey, a spiritual journey where you're trying to grow and you really care about issues in the world that don't just pertain to you, but to everyone else. And you're trying to change things within yourself so you can help others. Especially as a young person, it's going to be hard to relate to other people. And that's where I'll say, yes, that's how you should think, and it's okay to feel that way, and it's normal to feel that way, especially if you're on this sort of journey of growth. But the problem kicks in, and I realized this after I made that video on the Trust Epidemic, when I was getting revealed to all these statistics about Gen Z finding their neighbors having a weird vibe. That was like the top percentage of why people hate their neighbors. And Gen Z obviously has a loneliness issue. We spend so much time on the internet. Going through all that made me realize, like, maybe I need to reframe the way I present this entire video to not like, it's okay to not relate to anybody, and like, just don't talk to many people if you feel fucking drained. Now I'm starting to think more and more about how that message would have influenced people. And I think this message that I'm trying to send to you right now is much more important for not just you, for everybody. And that is, we really need to, even as an introvert, just be kind to others through conversations, through very basic small talk conversations, and have more of those opportunities to just connect with people on the most basic of levels. I used to hide behind my introversion a lot, and I especially used it as an excuse before I researched all that stuff in the video and realizing how much just sticking to myself and not looking at other people and kind of trying to isolate myself impacts everyone else. Once I realized that, it's like, dude, you're not even going out of your way to, most of the time, I do sometimes, but most of the time before I made that video, to look at someone in the eye, give them a smile, be like, what's going on? Spark up some small talk, maybe to the cashier who's probably having a shitty day. Like, I don't know many cashiers who really enjoy their job and are happy about where they're at in life. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. That type of interaction, like, that's the stuff that creates societies that actually get along. The stuff that actually creates societies that get along are these unspoken rules we have as to how we should interact with each other in very brief instances. And if you're using your introversion, well, if I do that too much, then I'm going to have no energy for myself. It's kind of hiding behind it as an excuse to not put yourself out there and socialize with more people. You could also have social anxiety. And I made a video about this a long time ago about how you might not even be an introvert, but you consider yourself an introvert because you're socially anxious. A lot of people are socially anxious, but they're secretly extroverts and they don't even realize it. Social anxiety and extroversion are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist. So a lot of you might not even be introverts watching this video. The main definition of introversion is when you talk to people, when you're in social gatherings. Does it drain your battery or does it enhance your battery? If it drains your battery, that's introversion. It doesn't matter how good you are at speaking to people or not, just being around a lot of people and speaking. Does that drain your battery? That means you're more of an introvert. Does that give you more energy? You're an extrovert. Social anxiety has nothing to do with whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Now, if you still come to the conclusion that, yes, I am an introvert, I don't like talking to a lot of people, I don't like being in big groups, totally understand that, but you cannot use that as an excuse to continue isolating yourself. And I really did before that video. And there's such simple things that I've been doing now since doing research for that video, like the cashier thing. Every time I'm going out in the checkout to get groceries, whatever, I think I'm going to talk to the cashier now. I'm going to ask them how their day is, going to ask how they're doing, give them a smile, let them know, like, hey, I'm with you here. We're all struggling a little bit. We need to share some sort of humanity in this situation to let everyone know that things are okay. Because when we walk by people and we say nothing or we don't give them any of our attention, we never truly understand each other. And that's the first step towards creating any deep relationships. I said that in that trust video, is small talk is almost always a necessary prerequisite to getting into deeper conversations. Even if it sucks and it feels like, what the fuck am I even saying? Like, you gotta have someone warm up to you. Usually. There's rare instances in which you're gonna find someone and you guys are gonna like instantly talk about deep shit. Although a lot of groups like that I think exist in Austin. So if you have the finances with which to move here and you're into stuff like that, this is really the place for it. But in a lot of other areas, like most people, the reason they don't want to open up to you immediately is because most likely they've been hurt in the past by doing so. They found out at a young age that, oh, if I'm vulnerable, if I show people my true self, if I express myself fully, then I will get judged and people will ostracize me. And that basically programmed them to say, okay, well, I'm not going to open up to anybody anymore when we first start talking. It's usually the result of some sort of negative experience in the past, because most kids are willing to open up completely to you and almost have too much of not a filter. They don't really have a filter at all. And obviously you need to understand when it's appropriate and when it's not to say certain things in a conversation. And that's also something you figure out the more that you just engage in more conversations and small talks on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But as soon as you start looking at the situations of small talk instead of this dreadful thing, like, oh my God, this person doesn't think deeply about anything. Like, they're just asking me the most simple of questions. I don't care about any of this stuff. Instead, you reframe it to, this person probably isn't willing to open up to me right now because they've gone through something similar to me in the past, where they felt judged, they felt too vulnerable, they felt ostracized, they felt misguided, they felt insulted, treated poorly. Like, you're not going to get to the grittiness and the good stuff until you establish trust with the other person. And you usually do that with the average person by talking about basic things at the start. You have to do that even if it feels weird, or if you feel like you're an introvert and like that's just going to drain your energy. We gotta all start doing that a little bit more, especially young people. We see someone hanging out, just be nice to them, ask them how their day is going. That doesn't necessarily guarantee they're going to like you and you're not going to get rejected. If you do that, be prepared to get rejected. Be prepared to get maybe some side eyes, who is this weirdo trying to talk to me out of nowhere? That's perfectly normal. These are people that have put up walls, who have had negative experiences in the past, who have some sort of visceral feeling to a stranger going up to them and talking to them. You got to be okay with that, but you got to take that risk in order to start building more connections, in order for just more people in general right now to feel more trust between individuals. So we have to start connecting on a basic level and then getting into the deeper stuff when you feel safe, when it feels safe to start talking about that stuff in the conversation. When that is, it's going to vary from person to person, but I usually start off asking someone about their day, asking them how they're doing, how their day's been, what they've been up to lately, ask them a bit about their hobbies, their interests, really ask them about their lives, get them to open up about what they like. People love talking about what they like. I love talking about what I like. This is what the whole fucking YouTube channel is for. I'm just yapping about my interests and myself and things I want to talk about. You do that a little bit, and then if you really connect with this person, you should usually feel it, right? You feel like an intuitive sort of connection with people sometimes. And it's like, well, I'd love to continue this. It's like, hey, well, I don't know what you're doing this weekend or next weekend, but love to hang out, maybe grab a coffee, maybe go to the pool. Let's get something going. Like, let's do it. Let's exchange contacts and continue. And once you do that, then when you hang out that time, the second time, maybe you can open up a little bit more and, talk a little bit more about their past or what they're trying to really get out of life. And it's honestly okay to talk about what their dreams are and aspirations are the first time meeting them. Maybe they'll really appreciate that. But you got to gauge that, and you understand social cues more the more that you do this with other people. But that's another thing I just realized is what you also have to do, I think, everybody, not even if you're not an introvert, just go into these social scenarios without any expectations. Don't put any expectations on how you think this person should treat you, how successful the interaction should be. Say, this person has to be nice back to me, or, I'm doing this because I need to make a friend. Just be nice out of the kindness of your heart, as fucking corny as that sounds. Like, you should want to speak with other individuals on a near daily basis just because, you love connecting with other human beings. No matter whether you're an introvert or not, we all should love connecting with other human beings unless we have some sort of trauma we have endured. And if that's the case, then It's going to take a little bit of introspection and internal work, and then slowly but surely reintegrating yourself into those social scenarios. But that's work that's got to be done. We can't even feel our own fucking humanity through these screens. We can't. You just can't gauge social cues. You can't understand the flow of a conversation as much. There's a delay between Zoom calls when you're trying to talk to somebody and then they respond. There's a bit of a delay and it's just weird. And then through text messages, you can't even like fully understand the tone that's the person's trying to exude through the messages. Like I often misinterpret the tone of messages and I think someone's like mad or feels upset with me when they're really not at all. It's because nothing can replace just being in person and talking to somebody. Nothing. If we keep interacting through these screens, people feel like objects. People feel like there's not a person behind the screen. There's not someone who's gone through fucking hardships and made mistakes and has flaws and has insecurities. This is what makes us human, is these stories that we have gone through, that we have conquered. We have gone through challenges and we have overcome them. When we connect on that level, people feel human and we realize, holy shit, we're all not fucking perfect. We all have issues. We all are afraid of something. We all think we're fucking ugly in some way. You don't feel these things unless you go through the little small talk instances more often on a daily basis. So you can't use your introversion as an excuse to isolate yourself. And I'm not going to do that either anymore.